Welcome back to the rest of the story. I just got home like a little bit ago. I still got my work clothes on. But I'm going to answer a question that I've been getting asked every once in a while, periodically. And I just figured I'd address it. And that is simply, how do I justify buying bottle calves? How does it cash flow? Well, I just did up a quick sheet the other night, and I just figured I'd run over it with you real quick. Typically in that barn up at Rockville, if I really wanted to fill it, I could get at least 70 calves in there. But for the sake of this video, I figured 50 calves. I just figured it was just a nice number to run off of. At the most recent calf sale, good quality, 100-pound bottle calves are going for $110 a piece. So for 50 calves, just to purchase the calves alone is $5,500. Well, for each calf, you figure at least one bag of milk replacer per calf to get it to weaning age, which is approximately 8 weeks. At not even an expensive bag, the stuff I was buying last summer was right around 55. I've paid up to like 85 before. That's for like the highest, the best stuff you can get. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't buy that stuff, but the lower quality, it helps you cash flow a little bit easier. But that comes out to $2,750. And on top of that, I figure $750. This is all give or take for medication. The medication I give to them is a Draxxin shot and Enforce 3. It's a nasal injection up their nose that protects them from any respiratory bugs. I don't bother warming them yet. When it comes to the Draxxin shot, it is an antibiotic. We've gotten a lot of flack for that in the past, for giving calves an antibiotic shot when they're not sick. We buy our calves, 99% of the calves that I've gotten in the last 2 years came from a sales barn. Anything that comes from a sales barn onto these farms, I consider them sick on arrival. The sales barns, they are a collection of all the bugs from every farm from around the country that happens to sell at that particular sale. And I do know, I'm not sure how far in they come to sell, but I do know that our sales barn in southwest Wisconsin here brings cattle in from Illinois, Iowa. I think I've heard Minnesota once or twice. And I'm not sure how far east or north of Wisconsin they go. It's a widely known sales barn. They sell cattle to Kansas and Colorado. A lot of widespread buyers go to the sales barn. But the reason I treat calves with an antibiotic is just the simple fact that they're sick. As far as I'm concerned, they are sick. I'm not worried about antibiotic resistant anything, because I've found in the past not treating them has led to me having more health issues than just do it, you're done with it, move on. That does include electrolytes. I give them a bottle of electrolytes when I bring them home. It doesn't matter if it's at noon, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 o'clock at night. Typically I try to feed 12 hours apart, depending on the time of the year. I'm pretty adamant I won't raise bottle calves during spring planting or fall harvest, for the simple fact I don't know where I'm going to be. I could be 20 miles away from home in the field, and it's something, even when I do have like my mom or Brittany around that could feed calves for me, I like consistency when it comes to feeding the calves. I like to be the one that does it. Yeah, it's nice having a little break, a day or two off here, or a feeding off, but consistency really works in your favor when it comes to taking care of bottle calves. So I try to stick to, in the summer, probably getting away from the winter and maybe doing it more in the summer, and quite honestly, I don't know how many more years, if we're even going to raise any more bottle calves. It's looking pretty bleak. But back to the electrolytes. I give the calves the electrolytes for shipping fever. It helps with the stress from moving them from where they came from to the sales barn, from the sales barn getting handled by a half dozen people, to coming home in your trailer to getting handled again back into the barn. It's stressful. I usually only do that once, but then when I give it to them, I will give them their regular feeding after that, whether it's an hour later or I'm supposed to be feeding them. Say I bring them home at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and I want to feed them at 6 o'clock at night. I do at least give them a little bit of time, at least an hour or two, before I try to give them a bottle of milk, so at least you're not trying to cram them full of electrolytes, because it's a full bottle, and then trying to get their milk down them, because young babies like that, they're not going to be that hungry. For feed, I'm figuring approximately $800 to $1,000 for feed. All my other viewers that are raising cattle, raising bottle calves, it varies across the country. You guys can agree with me, disagree with me. You're not going to hurt my feelings. That comes with the territory of doing YouTube. You have to have pretty thick skin and generally a lack of feelings. But for this general area of Wisconsin, I'm figuring, our feed too, but I have to buy oats because I'm figuring a 50-50 ration of corn and oats. I guess I really didn't figure in any supplement like calf starter or anything, but like 34B was typically what we went with, and that was $16 a bag. Yeah, that'd probably put me right around 1,000, maybe just a hair more. That comes out to right around $10,000. We'll just round. 50 calves, 0 death loss, is approximately $10,000 to raise them, to put a group of 50 calves through that barn. If I went ahead and sold them at weaning at 150 to 200 pounds, depending on the calf and the genetics it has in it, that's approximate. At the recent sale, I went off of the most recent sale for weaned calves. It comes out to $9,000 if I sold them at current market price for weaned calves. So, figuring no death loss and getting them to weaned weight, that's $9,000. That doesn't include transport or trucking. The little things that kind of chip away at you, like electricity, and some people charge themselves labor. But if I sold them for $9,000 right now, and they're $110 per head, that is a loss of $1,000. For the sake of argument, I figured what would it take to get them up to what we get them to. We typically run ours up to 500-pound feeder weight, and we sell them then. So to get to 500 pounds, I figured they'd have to gain approximately 325 pounds. For those of you that are cringing at any of the numbers I'm using, this is largely for the people that don't raise calves, that are purely curious as to what it would cost to raise them. Because I do know, I just talked to a guy, it was been a couple days now, that he said he's getting them for $35 a piece and he can't cash flow it. I had another guy said that he's getting them for free and he's making a little bit of money there. But guys, I've heard, my grandpa's told me stories where when he was starting farming and he was selling bottle calves, when he didn't sell them for very long because he ended up keeping them. But Grandpa said that he once took a calf to the barn and they charged him $10 to take it. And they just gave it away. Well, Grandpa's like, well, if you're saying give it away, he says, I'd rather risk the money feeding it than just giving it away. And he said that he's had times where he took a couple calves in, bottle calves in. He says he took one calf in. He says he went back out to his truck after the sale, and he says, and they threw 5 into his trailer. times change. I mean, anymore right now, if I could get 5 calves for free, yeah, I'd take the time to raise them. But man, could you imagine that where you go to a sale trying to get rid of a calf or two, and then you go home with more than what you went with, without any money exchange? I mean, they couldn't get rid of them. Okay, now that I've gotten off topic again, these are approximations, but I'm figuring 325 pounds to gain at 2 pounds per head per day, that'll fluctuate, is approximately 162 days on feed. Well, I'm figuring at full feed, because the last batch I had them up to about 14 pounds of feed per head per day. That is 700 pounds of feed per day. So 700 pounds times 162 days is 113,400 pounds. At current prices, that came out to $6,581.25. Well, that comes out to, oh, where am I at here? I streamlined this a little bit more, sorry. But I'm figuring for selling them at 500 pounds now. At 500 pounds, 50 calves, 0 death loss. At current price is $1 a pound is $25,000. So $25,000 minus your initial costs, it comes out to right around 8,400 bucks. That's probably high. Well, I know it's high. I didn't figure in, because I wrote down at the bottom here, I didn't figure in mineral, medication, and a vet visit. The reason I figure a vet visit is because our feeder calves, we get them up to 500-pound feeders. We run them through the chute one more time. We don't have any catching chute of our own. We have the tub and the gates, but we don't have a chute. That went on the farm sale. Chalk that up for another thing, yet again, that we need to purchase here down the road. But we rent the chute from the vet. It comes down. We give him a Boa Shield Gold 5 and Force 3, one shot, and a pour, unless it's raining out, and sometimes we'll give them an injectable wormer. Change their tags if they need them, or give them tags if we didn't give them to them yet. Typically, when they're calves yet, right before I wean them off at 8 weeks, the vet will come down, he'll put them to sleep. He gives them a shot in their horns and their temple, their head. They fall asleep. He cuts their horns off. We band them. I give them Boa Shield Gold and the Enforce then, and then I give them a booster when they're up to 400 or 500 pounds. That is approximates, guys. I imagine some guys are going, I'm way too high, I'm way too low, I'm insane, or 8,400 bucks. That may sound like pretty good change, but by the time you take off, well, the meds and the vet, that's a little under $1,000. The last one I think was 600 or 800 bucks. The insurance, some people do or don't do insurance. Mineral, I didn't figure that in. Depends on what you want to give them and how much you give them, and salt blocks and protein tubs. But for 8,400 bucks at 0 death loss, doesn't seem too bad. I mean, that's tempting. But the problem is with bottle calves, anybody that has raised them knows that they really aren't that hardy. If you've been around beef cattle at all, you know how well a beef will handle the slightest variations in weather over a Holstein. Holstein bottle calves, it seems like the first few weeks of their lives, their sole purpose in life is to lay down and die. And it's frustrating. That's another reason why you got to be really determined to raise bottle calves. It doesn't take much to lose 2 or 3, because it can be a snowballing effect. You lose one. By the time the one, you fight it for a few days, try to get it healthy. The next thing you know, something else could start up with another calf. I mean, that's the joy of raising bottle calves from a sales barn. When you're raising them purely from a farmer, that is ideal, but then you are going to be paying top dollar, because the farmer knows he's got you. They can take it to the sales barn. They know what they can get them from at the sales barn, and there's a premium to be able to purchase them from a local farmer. and those anymore are getting pretty hard to find. There are not too many dairies left in this area. They're 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 going away really quick. Um, Wisconsin is a dairy state. It was known, may still be, and end up being the number one dairy producing state again. Depends on how things go with California. But I'm not a big proponent for dairy. We were set up in an old stanchion barn, and if we had a parlor and a free stall and could cash flow it, that's one thing. But then you're talking 600,000 cows, and you're married to it. So I just we're not getting in. I'm not getting into dairy, but that is approximately what it would cost to raise bottle calves. $10,000 if you have $10,000 available on hand, and try to turn it into a few thousand. But you lose one calf, you're losing $500 every time you lose a calf. And my lender, I've never borrowed money to raise bottle calves, but my lender says they figure a 10% death loss. So 10% on 50 calves, and that's what you walk away with. Well, 10% on 50 calves, and then times that by 500, that's what you're losing. And it's hard to have a really strong incentive to raise a bottle calf. Holstein feeders, when you could lose your profit margin in like a week or a day, a couple hours. Holsteins are weird. So, yeah, that's enough. Hope that sheds some light on finances, and probably what I'm looking for is a general understanding as to why I'm more interested in raising a beef herd, and then instead of getting too heavy and too crazy into doing bottle calves. If the prices fluctuate, I could see it doing it more intensively. But then the problem is, then other people start jumping in on it too. So I don't know. It's a very real possibility that dairy barn could sit empty for the rest of my life. It's life. I have doubts that dairy barn is going to be there for another 50 years. Things that have been thrown around with it is, if we can't raise bottle calves in it, if we just decide against bottle calves, I could see cutting a hole in the wall so we can drive the skid steer through it and use the barn for bale storage. Either big squares or round bales, whatever we're doing at the time. You can never have enough bale storage because bales overwinter terribly, even in net wrap. But I know, I'm sorry, talking too long. You guys want shorter videos. Hope the one you got last night was short enough for you. I'll try to get a couple other videos up too, but we're halfway through the lull of winter. We're in February, or we should be by now. So, I don't know, we get to March, hopefully things will start picking up. So until next time, I know, I'm winded too. Take care, take it easy, keep in touch.